Good evening, Cheeseheads, and welcome to another Caller's Cave. With me tonight, I have two illustrious Cheeseheads. To my left is Mr. HG. How are you this evening, HG?
I'm doing well, thank you very much, caller. It's been a strange week watching another Spurs defeat after another Spurs defeat, but no, I'm doing all right. Half term here in Austria, so lovely week off to enjoy the super cold weather and to stay inside. Wonderful.
Yeah, sounds perfect. How cold is it over there?
It's actually not that bad. It feels like -5 or something like that. I know that sounds bad, but I'm fat, so I don't really feel it as much as I might have done before. I quite like the cold, but my Californian wife is not a fan of the cold, and anything under 10 degrees is too little for her. So
I
yeah,
agree
but
with
we're,
her.
we're okay. We're okay.
I agree with her. It's lashing down with rain here, but one place where it's not -5 or lashing down with rain is Brazil. I'm guessing. Good evening, Brendan Lagerty.
Hey caller, how you doing? Hey HG, good to see your faces. And hopefully it's not as big as mine. Look at how big I look. It was actually raining earlier. I think it's stopped now, but it was raining earlier. I got caught in it, but it's tropical rain, so you're still in shorts and flip-flops and getting warm, wet. But yeah, can't complain.
Excuse me. So you go out for a nice dance with your wife to enjoy that summer rain, the constant tropical rain. Is that what you do to enjoy yourself?
I don't dance. Well, I try, but then fail miserably. It's one thing that it's always been on the bucket list of things I want to learn to do, but just end up getting drunk and forgetting and then falling over. But yeah, I don't dance. She doesn't dance either, so thank God for that. Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
we've spent ages pre-show trying to sort Brendan's zoom out so his head's a little bit. There you go. See, if he just sits back, it makes it all right. But for some reason, he can't seem to get over this. Bit like
I tried.
I'm going to call it a case of the Mourinho's big head.
Who needs Billy
I'm gonna
Big
try
Balls
with-
when you've got Brendan Bighead? There you go.
Well, look, and you've got me, sadly. So, look, this is a Chelsea preview for Thursday evening. I'd like to say I'm really, really happy with the way we're playing, and we're going to Stamford Bridge with half a chance. But I'm a little bit worried about it, if I'm honest.
Mate, the game is at Spurs, so you won't be going to Stamford Bridge at all.
Whatever. I mean, to be fair, Chelsea, home or away, is a tough game. Thomas Tuchel's his third game in charge, will it be, HG? Yeah.
Yes, his third game in charge. There was I think a goalless draw and then a 2-0 win against Burnley in the last game.
And what do we know about him? Tell me all about Mr. Tuchel, Bren.
You're asking the wrong guy here. He looks a bit like Barney Ronay from The Guardian. That's about it. And he used to manage Dortmund and PSG. Didn't do great. The PSG job's a bit like the Celtic job these days. So he's essentially the German Brendan Rodgers. There's my.
Okay. Well, there you go. So someone slightly better informed on the subject. HG, what can you tell us about Mr. Tuchel?
So yeah, obviously before he went to PSG and got to the Champions League final with them, we've got to give him some credit for that. But yeah, before he was at Dortmund, he was there a couple of seasons. Fell out with the chairman and with the sporting director of Dortmund. He's quite a difficult character to work with. Apparently, is Mr. Tuchel. But yeah, he got the Dortmund job based on what he did at Mainz. He kind of followed the Jurgen Klopp path, because that's where Klopp started, was at Mainz. Then he went to Dortmund, and then obviously on to Liverpool. And Tuchel has gone slightly different, but he's now in English football. So Tuchel is another one of those young German coaches. I think Klopp started it. Tuchel's now obviously pretty far along his career, but Nagelsmann as well. You've got the Bayern manager, Mr. Flick, who's not old either.
Is
so
his first name Hair?
Well, yeah, it would be if it's Mr. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so like the German managers. I mean, to be fair, like there's Marco Rosa. He's another German manager, young in his 40s. So they've got a fair few. But Tuchel, I think, was the the second one, let's say the one who followed Klopp, and I think he's probably a good appointment for Chelsea. He may not have won too much in his career, but he knows how to handle big players, and yeah, I think he'll do well for him.
Yeah, well, one person that knows how to handle big players is absolutely Brendan. What do you think the score's going to be then, Bren? How are you expecting Chelsea to line up? How are you expecting us to line up? What are your thoughts on the game? Have we got a chance?
They've always got a chance. It's 11 against 11. Anything can happen on the day. I'm just a bit worried that one thing that I noticed that he has done, he's brought back Alonso, which Lampard sort of froze out, and he scored a screamer. He scored a beautiful goal on the weekend. So I think that you'll see Alonso and Azpilicueta as the fullbacks, Thiago Silva, and who's their other centre back at the moment with Silva?
They've been playing Rudiger.
Rudiger, that was it. Yeah, Rudiger. So yeah, he's probably not going to go with the kids that Lampard likes. So we may see Mason Mount, but in terms of how we'll line up, God knows. And it's too early for a prediction. Let's do the predictions at the end.
Well, I think that's a good idea. Absolutely, we can do predictions at the end. HG, what kind of side is Jose going to put out? Because, what he's done so far, last couple of games, hasn't worked at all, has it? It's been appalling.
Yeah, it's been really bad. There's no two ways about it. I think if Jose is smart, he'll go back to the boring defensive football from 2 months ago, where we got results at Chelsea and we beat Man City, and we'll be super defensive. Chelsea under Tuchel they'll play a high press a lot more. And so it'll be very interesting to have one team trying to press a team that isn't trying to get out of their own half anyway. Mourinho, you want to see him play Vinicius because he's probably the best option with Kane being out injured. But because Chelsea will probably push forward, there might be gaps. If we can get the passing right, there might be gaps for someone quicker upfield to take advantage of. So it wouldn't surprise me if we almost play like a 4-6-0 and just decide to play without a main striker and hope to play nice, neat triangles as we work our way up the pitch.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I feel like we might have players to do that. If we're smart, we might be able to do it. But given how Jose's liked to play three at the back for, I think, 4 of the last 6 games, the results haven't been great, but he obviously sees something in it. So maybe we'll see it again. Although I really, really hope that we don't.
And I was at that, I can't remember, was it? I think it was at Wembley where Alonso scored that bloody free kick. So I think that was Becky's first game I took her to, actually, or one of the first games I took her to. What a great experience that was, not. And, I just think Alonso always plays well against us, doesn't he? He always seems to pop up with a goal or play well against us. Lucas is watching tonight, says that Alonso always scores a late winner against us. Does seem that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think he scored against us last season at the Bridge. It was actually, again, a really decent goal. Alonso, and even Timo Werner, the man who can't score for Chelsea, has a habit of scoring against Tottenham. So he may well do the same on Thursday night if Tuchel decides to play him. But if I see Alonso and Tuchel in the first 11, I would expect one of them to score at least.
Timo Werner, fantastic player, isn't he, Brendan?
He was. I mean, he's not scored for Chelsea in 18 games, I think it is now. So this will be his 19th game. So 18.
18?
He's not scored since the 7th of November in a 4-1 win over Sheffield United. So he's due one, and we seem to be
in the League Cup. Did he score against us in that game?
Yeah.
That was before 7th of November, I think. He does love to score against us, and he's due one. He's not been playing that badly. It's just been sort of scuffing shots here and there, but he's getting in the right positions. And you just sort of worry with the fact that we keep chopping and changing our back four, that he'll get those opportunities, that he will get space to exploit. And I hate using the phrase Spursy and Dr. Tottenham and all that crap, but we do this. We did it for bloody Brighton. I love that stat that their last 3 home wins have been in 3 different years, in 2019, 2020, and 2021, which is insane. But only we can provide that sort of reassurance and come back to form. Other players as well, that have escaped my mind, but where we've helped them. Benteke, I'm sure, was one where he went ages without scoring and scored against us. And it just always happens with us. So I think he is going to score against us. Hopefully, we will turn up. Hopefully, that the mindset of the players will be more focused, that we will have some kind of game plan and some structure and identity. But I'm worried. I'm worried in defence. I'm worried in attack. I'm worried what system Jose will play. Will he go with wing backs again, which we're not used to? And in spite of the fact that there's 5 defenders, teams seem to be finding space and scoring from it. That's how Brighton got their goal, by sort of confusing Ben Davies and him sort of running around and the centre back not helping to cover. Mane's goal
Davies
against
does
us.
look confused quite often, though, doesn't he? He's got one of those
He's such
faces.
a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He's the sort of guy that you wouldn't mind your daughter dating. He's just such a nice guy. Look, do you want me to go down to the village and get some bread? He just seems just too nice. And you want, I don't know. He just seems to, he's not, in my opinion, he's not good enough. He's for our defensive left back. He's not good enough for me.
Well, Neil Williams says, do you think either Bale or Dele will start against Chelsea? HG, I'm going to ask you this one because you have some strong views on Dele most of the time. You could ask me about the Bale bit because absolutely he should start. But yeah, over to you.
When it comes to Dele, no, I don't think he will play. And honestly, I kind of hope he doesn't. I think lots of fans are expecting Dele to come in and maybe be a bit of a saviour. And yeah, I don't think that he'll be able to do that by himself. We'd have to build a team to function around him. And a lot of that involves playing on the front foot, which Jose doesn't want to do and maybe shouldn't do in this game. So I don't think Dele will start. I'd be surprised, frankly, if he's even on the bench, if I'm honest. As for Bale, well, when I think about the teams that I might want to see, Bale rarely makes the starting 11. If we're going to play a certain type of game on the counter-attack, I don't know if an inverted winger on the right is really what we want to be doing. As much as I think he's a better player than other options like Lucas or Lamela, I have a feeling that those two are maybe better suited for the type of game that we want to play if we are going to be defensive. So it'll be an interesting one. Both players are clearly capable of scoring. We've seen that in the past. We know that they can. Even this season, Bale scored a few goals for us. But I would be very surprised if Jose starts either of them, because I think he'll want to be more pragmatic than that.
Yeah. Bren? Do
Yeah, certainly.
I think Bale
think
or Dele are getting near it Thursday.
No, I think Bale will probably make the bench. I don't think he'll start. So I'm just adjusting my camera a bit.
Brendan,
There,
step back from the camera. You look like you're about to eat it. You look like you're about to devour the camera.
I'm like 6 meters from my computer now, so I have to hold the mic here. Yeah, Dele, no, I'd be very surprised if he even made the bench. Even though we need him, I think that we need someone in midfield to sort of try and create something. He would be perfect because I don't think Winks has enough creativity in him to give us what we need. He'll do. I think we do need to thicken up the midfield. Playing the wing backs against Brighton was a mistake because he just let them overrun us in midfield. And it's Brighton. And Bale, it's sad. I saw a comparison between him and James Milner. James Milner's 35.
Yeah.
Bale is 30, 31. Milner's been there and done it too. Fair enough, he's not won 4 Champions League. He's just won the one.
Scored an opening kick in the Champions League final, possibly one of the greatest goals ever in the competition. No, he hasn't done that.
No, yes, but he's still won. He's still won Premier Leagues. He's still won Champions Leagues. But he still puts in a shift day in, day out when he comes on. Bale just looks disinterested. Like when he came off against Brighton, it looked like he was dying to get off.
He looked like he was knackered, to be honest. I didn't think he looked like he was dying to come off particularly.
Well, it was dying to come off because he was knackered, maybe, but he's not the same player. And we knew that he wasn't going to be the same player. But physically, he doesn't look there. He looks very gangly. We've said this before. I think it was a Spanish street cat he looks like. And
No, you said that. You said that.
I think it was Franco. Franco said that, I think. But you worried. Like, you want something from him. We're given the wages he's on. He just doesn't look interested. He doesn't look. He was there to sell shirts.
Like, if we talk about wages for a second, Bale has contributed more this season on his 240 grand a week than Lucas, Lamela, and Bergwijn all have, and they may well be on the same amount between them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not so worried about wage contribution because Dele's on 200 grand a week and he's not playing. So you just have to hope that the players that you have are actually committed or even trying. And that's the issue with Bale more than anything. Like, I think that he would like to play a more intricate style of football. I don't think it suits him to play on the counter-attack. But if we like to play forward, which I think we even tried, to be fair, we did try against Brighton to play on the front foot, but we couldn't get the ball to him because we were outnumbered in midfield. And like any of our attacking players this season, unless we're hoofing it up to Kane and he can create something, we aren't giving them the opportunity to really do something in an attacking part of the field. We just aren't, and it's a massive issue. So like I like Bale, I will always like Bale, but until we change the way we play, and actually this is true for Dele as well, unless we change the way that we play, neither one of them will show us what they've shown us before.
Do you think we'll persist with 5 at the back then, Bren? Or do you think we'll go back 4? Or, 3 at the back, whatever you want to call it. Same difference, really. Can't hear you, mate. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you. HG, I'll come to you while Brendan sorts his life out.
Okay.
What are you saying?
I think he may well stick with his 3 centre-backs. I really hope he doesn't. But I just think that I think Jose has decided that the best way to protect that midfield, and I've said this on the pod, but the best way to protect the midfield is to have 3 centre-halves behind. I don't think it will work. I know that Chelsea like to play with wing-backs themselves, actually. They used Alonso down the left and Hudson-Odoi down the right in their game at the weekend. But Chelsea have intelligent footballers. I mean, even people like Mason Mount, who I don't really rate, is smart enough to find the gap. He'll make life difficult for you and he'll move you around. And given the centre halves that we have, maybe 2 of them will pass as intelligent enough to deal with it. And that's Toby and Dyer. I think Rodon and Sanchez are basically the same player. One might be more comfortable on the ball, but neither one of them seem to be able to kind of adapt to the situation. I know that Rodon is inexperienced at this level, but I haven't seen much to make me think that he senses danger too well. So, yeah, like I hope to see a back 4, but I do think that Jose will stick with what he's tried recently, despite the fact that we haven't got results.
Well, I mean, for me, I hope he goes to sort of 4-4-2 because I just think, I mean, I've said it before, I've said it on the pod, I'll say it again. We never play well with 3 at the back or 5 at the back, whatever you want to call it. Or as one of our astute viewers tonight has put, Lucas says, we're just going to play 11-0-0. Dele or Bale, it won't matter if they play or not. We're just going to play 11-0-0.
I mean, and this is it. That's the interesting thing. Like, if we do think we're going to be defensive, which I think most of us do think that, how do we progress the ball up the pitch? What is the best way of doing it? Is it a case of hoofing it down the channels and hoping that Son or Bergwijn can get on the end of it? You'd think that Chelsea's back 3, if they play one, will eat that up all day. So I think that we have to try and find a way to pass through. And the question is, how do we do that? Which players are better at short triangles? Which players are willing to move forward with the ball when they're given the opportunity? Like Sissoko is not the greatest at controlling and playing triangles, but if you give him some space, he will bomb forward. So the question is, like, where do you want Sissoko in that 4-4-2? He might be best as a right winger, despite the fact that he's not a winger. It might just give him the space needed to go on. it's really tough because I think a lot of the players that are playing regularly aren't comfortable when really playing the way that Jose wants to, and it's a massive issue. We either expose our backline by playing high up and the backline doesn't have pace, or we don't get a chance of scoring because we're too far back to really hurt the opponent.
Mm.
With it being Chelsea, it's really tough because I just think that Tuchel, I mean, he's a smart guy. He'll play on the front foot. He'll make life difficult for our backline. Is our backline good enough to pass around a high press? Probably not.
No.
I think Toby can do it. I think Dyer has the ability, but we'll be struggling because you have to find space, and a lot of our players are quite that they watch their teammates on the ball. They're not moving.
Certainly recently. I mean, there's been an awful lot of ball watching and waiting for things to happen, static movement, So I completely get where you're coming from. Brendan, we have lost you, sadly, in terms of volume. I've sent you full instructions on your phone on how to unmute yourself. But then equally, I look like that's better. It'll come back in a minute, I'm sure. Technology. Brendan.
There you go. Brendan, you might have to. Can you go out and come back? Will that work? Probably, right?
Well, yeah, it will. It will. Yeah, it's just he can unmute himself. He's just not read. If he reads your phone, Brendan, I've sent you full instructions on how to unmute yourself. No.
Well, anyway, so caller, what do you think? What do you expect from Thursday night?
What do I expect? I expect us to get beat, if I'm being really honest, and I hate that. What's we got there?
I hate
Arsenal. Very good. Do you know, when I was working out earlier, I had my North London is ours T-shirt on. So
yeah, I'd like to thank my mother-in-law for buying this for me. It was a great present.
Brendan, are you with us, Brendan?
I hope so. Am I with you now?
He's here.
Welcome to the third world.
Welcome to the third world. Microphones don't work, webcams zoom in, and apart from anything, and that's just with a Dell laptop.
Yeah.
If anyone's watching and wants to sponsor Brendan some equipment in Brazil, then please do. All contributions are greatly received. Send him a Mac. Send this man a Mac.
A GoFundMe page for poor Brendan in Brazil.
I've got to put this out here. Paul Muir, bless. Hi, Paul. Good to hear from you, mate. 3 amigos. Good to see Brendan sober as well. Well, you thought he was, but then he started zooming up to the camera. Brendan, show us your beer glass tonight.
It's empty. I should have got a beer while I was off there.
Look at the size of that.
Looks really big with the zoom.
And Paul's got lots of valuable contribution tonight. I don't know
the supply teacher.
I don't know what you mean, really. I think I look quite, fetching, Paul. But thanks very much.
I think it's the off-duty car salesman, the Swiss Tony thing.
Swiss Tony, yeah. He also says Werner and Callum Hudson-Odoi, I'm going to say, against our fullbacks. Do you fancy that, Bren?
Yeah, it's worrying because Chelsea, they've got an amazing squad. They've spent loads of money this summer. Werner looks the business. He's had a run of poor games, but
I mean, you're
still
saying he looks the business, but about 5 minutes ago you were telling me he hadn't scored for 18 games.
I know, but they're still playing him. And he's still getting into positions. He's scuffed a few, but he's quality. He's got pace. So I think that.
Didn't he score a boatload for that German team we played in the semi-final last year?
Leipzig.
Not semi-final, but last 16 or whatever. Yeah, Leipzig. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he score again? I'm sure he scored at our place and away, didn't he?
Certainly at ours. I can't remember the away game too well. I don't want to remember it, but
so
he scored a
Dr. Tottenham will see you now, Mr. Werner.
I hate that. Come on, and Spursy, it's the same, but because it's self-deprecating
and it seems to be a self-fulfilling prophecy as well. We say it and it actually happens, don't we? So you heard it here first. If you're watching this and you want to put a bet on, get Werner down to score the first goal, and you can thank me later or curse me if I'm wrong. Right, Phil Ambrose says, and I'm going to give this one to you, HG, because I know you got very passionate about this on the podcast, and I got the question the other night. Jose lost the dressing room, yes or no?
If
And then I
our
will come to
players have
I will come to you, Bren, because I'm interested to know your answer as well.
Look, if our players have a brain cell, then I think the answer is yes. Frankly, he should have lost the dressing room. When you work for someone who's making bad decisions, you lose respect for them quite quickly. Doesn't really matter what they've done before you got to the club or what they've done in their history. You can only base it on what you're seeing, and we've seen it with other players saying, when Dele came off the pitch and saying, just effing defending and hitting it long. Or you got Danny Rose talking about players who are playing every game despite playing badly. When you win, then you can bat all those questions aside. But we're not winning, and he's making some very questionable decisions. And so you'd hope that the players are aware of that, and we'll see it. It's like I don't want him to lose the dressing room at all. But I do think that if the players have any kind of intelligence, then he should have lost them by now.
I mean, he does things a little bit differently to a lot of modern managers. He calls them out in public and in the dressing room, as we saw in the documentary. I wonder if what happened with him and Dele was he hadn't watched the documentary last season, hence the loving, and then he sort of watched it in the closed season and then realised that Dele was really secretly slagging him off with his long ball football and punting it long tactics. And then he's had the ump with him ever since. Bren, has he lost the dressing room?
Before Brighton, I didn't think so. But watching that game on Sunday was really worrying. They were just disinterested, going through the motions. There was no desire, cohesion. Brighton they weren't very good, but everything good came from them. And that's worrying. So, and the Serge Aurier thing as well. I mean, I know Serge is a bit bonkers, but if it's true that he threw stuff at Jose and had the row with Hugo, I think Hugo's row was probably feeling that he should have done better as well. But throwing stuff at your manager, if that is what happened,
I mean, that's a sacking on the spot. I can tell you right now. I don't believe for a second he did throw something at Jose, and I believe even less it was glass, given that generally speaking, Premier League change rooms don't have glass in because things can fall and injure very expensive footballers' feet. So I'm not quite buying what's been sold, but clearly there's words that have been said, and at the very least, Aurier stropped off, didn't he?
Yeah. He left the stadium at half time. And we've not seen him since. He's not been. I haven't seen him in any of the training photos. He's not been. He wasn't at Brighton, not even in the squad. And that gives credit to the story that there was a bust up. Yeah. Obviously, the players they're going to have to keep stum. They've got they're trained in that sort of thing where they can't let things onto their friends and family and on social media. But there is no smoke without fire, and it's clear that something has gone on there. And that kind of insubordination shows that you wouldn't do that to a manager that you respected or that you felt me doing this will piss off my my co-workers. You wouldn't do that. So he did that in the knowledge that he has support among his squad.
Maybe. Really? Do you not just think he's mad?
Well, he's mad, absolutely. But I don't think that he would cross that line if he wasn't confident enough that he had the support of enough of his colleagues that they'd be on his side. It's worrying. It's worrying.
So he's now on the naughty step with Dele and Danny Rose.
Exactly. How many players can Jose shut out? Like it is worrying. And so has he lost the dressing room? I don't want to say yes, but yeah, I think. There's no other explanation for that performance against Brighton. Brighton were there for the taking. They weren't that great. But we just didn't want to try. And that's worrying. And Jose's post-match interview as well, he was a lot more reserved and he didn't throw the players under the bus. Hats off. But I think he didn't, knowing, oh God, the spotlight's on me here. There are going to be rumours that I've lost the dressing room. So he sort of said the players deserve more, those sorts of lines, where you're still thinking he may have lost the dressing room?
No, I'm going to say there'll be a chunk of the dressing room that's not very happy with him, but I don't think he's lost it because I think he'll have loyalty from others. So I don't think that he's lost it at this stage. I think it, if we rewind 5 weeks, we're top of the league, and we had Sky pundits, esteemed pundits like Jamie Redknapp, say, I know how much you like him, saying things like they're buying into what Mourinho's doing. You've got players there, Harry Kane, Son, Moura, buying into the philosophy that Jose, and it's working. Now, you don't go from that to that in 5 weeks. It's going to take a lot longer period. But I agree that there is trouble brewing. Absolutely, there is trouble brewing.
If you think about Spurs' best players this season, right, it's going to be probably Kane, Son, and Højbjerg, right? They're the three that have stood out. Now, Son, if things don't go his way, his body language is terrible, right? Like, very quickly how he's feeling. He can't hide it. Kane is the ultimate professional. You won't really know either way. If he's happy or if he's sad, he just gets on with his job, right? Højbjerg, I think, is probably the key here because he will almost certainly be respected in the dressing room. He speaks fluent French, so for that part of the room, he'll be able to communicate with them. He's probably got their back. They'll trust him. He speaks obviously fluent English. Like, there aren't too many people that he won't be able to communicate with easily, right? So I think that if Højbjerg is the one to turn, then maybe others will go too. But you can't look at how we're playing and the teams that we're picking and then think Mourinho knows what he's doing. Look, I'm sorry, I just don't think you can think that. Like, anyone, I say anyone, I mean part-time hobby analysts like us will know that if a team has 5 in midfield, you probably need to match it. And if you don't, you're in trouble. Because Brighton didn't play well, but they didn't need to. They just controlled the ball. They got the goal. They sat back. They were, and they were able to move the ball forward pretty easily. Even their centre forward, Mopé, it's not as if he played out and out striker. He was often dropping back, and maybe Gross moved forward or Trossard. Like, they had movement. We look like a football team, table football, where we're in rigid lines. And one of you is going to score from distance if you're lucky, but that's about it. There doesn't seem to be any creativity, and I do get the feeling that whatever there is kind of, it's not from Jose. It will come from the players. The players sit down and say, "This is how we're going to do it. This is what," and hopefully it will work because Jose, as he said himself, he doesn't think that he can coach football players. He can't teach them to trap the ball better. He can't teach them how to find the top corner from 30 yards. That's something that they have as an innate ability. And to be a Premier League player at a club like Spurs, you have to be, or you should be, extremely good in those areas. And I think that maybe because our players maybe aren't the quality that we need, that way of thinking has been found out. He's unable to say to anyone not named Kane or Son, off you go, do your job. I mean, he needs to show more, and he's not doing it.
I mean, it is a strange one. Anyone with half a brain could tell we were going to get overrun in midfield against Brighton, playing that formation with those players. And yet a manager allegedly paid 15 million quid a year. Can't.
And Chelsea will do the same. Like, I think that when Lampard played Spurs as Chelsea manager last season at the Lane, and they beat us 2-0 when Gazaniga, kung fu kicked Marcos Alonso. Like, they dominated that game, and that's because in their 3-4-2-1, which is probably what they played, the two that were behind the striker would often drop deep into midfield, so it felt like you had a four-man midfield in there, and they just played around the 2 or 3 that we were trying to battle them with. And I think that the way that Tuchel likes Chelsea to play, they'll do something similar.
Yeah,
I don't quite know the best way to get around it because we seem unable to pass the ball to each other with any kind of confidence. We're not working systems. You look at Manchester City. There's a very, very much a system football. They know what to do. They've been drilled how to do it, and because they're quality players, it works for them. Yeah. Same with Liverpool. Liverpool might be a very structured side, but whereas they allow Mane and Salah to do their thing, but they do their thing in certain areas. You don't see Salah down the left. You don't see Mane down the right. They're very secure with their formation, and we don't offer either. We don't offer a secure formation, and there's no structure to what we're trying to do. It's a massive issue because there are mid-table teams that are below us in the league, who, based on how they're playing compared to us, probably could be above us in the league, but aren't because they don't have world-class players.
Mm.
And I feel like that's the only thing that's keeping us above mid-table is the fact that we have had Kane and Son.
Well, I mean, that's a very long answer to the question. It's almost a legendary HT rant, but yeah, I didn't want to interrupt it because it's good stuff. Lucas says, are you worried about Lo Celso's injury frequency? And as I've said that, I'm just sure Brendan's face just got bigger in the window. Brendan, this one's coming to you. Are we missing Lo Celso? Because he couldn't get in the team a few weeks ago, if I'm being really honest. Then he got injured. He's out for a month. Are we missing him? Is he going to provide that spark of magic when he comes back in the side?
This one for me, is it? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we have missed a player that we've missed midfielders. We need someone in midfield to be able to pass, to see a pass, to pick a pass, to see a run. We saw against Brighton that our fluency in midfield is suffering, and Lo Celso brings that. He's not really delivered things, huge things, but he certainly has the ability. When we had Tim Vickery on the show, he knows him from his time at, I think he was at Rosario in Argentina, and he said, "Look, this is a player." So he looks. We're a bit worried that he is another Lamela, with the frequency of his injuries and the fact that this one's taking longer than previous ones. Jose, when he arrived, he wasn't sold on Lo Celso either. He said that Lo Celso is a player that won him over. So yeah, we need midfielders. We need to thicken it up because the players that we have there, besides Højbjerg and Ndombele, they're not really of the quality that we want to be able to win games. And he's got that sort of the Latin American shithousery. He snaps into tackles as well. He is quite strong. Yeah. So yeah, we've missed him. I think he's saying 3 weeks until he's back, but it felt like it was 3 weeks ago. So, but yeah, we do need him back.
Okay. And Salary Agent says 3 close-ups. What are you trying to do to us? Really, it's kind of like a 3/4 one, and then a 2x zoom one if you were sort of using an iPhone. Brendan tries, but I think his enthusiasm gets taken away, and he ends up leaning in. And he also feels like he's on a conference call about to be fired, which is interesting. And I've got to share this one with you, HG. For a hobby analyst or an analyst, as Vlad would say, HG, you outperform professionals. Plus, you're obviously really great at art. That definitely does look like your handprint behind you.
Yeah, it's got Donald Trump's handprint. It's worth a fortune.
Well, absolutely. And I think this is a good point from Phil. Shouldn't be underestimated that Aurier is popular in the dressing room. Great mates with Sissoko and Dembele. Yeah, that came through quite loud and clear from the documentary and in some of the behind the scenes. So that is something, to be honest, that I hadn't really considered, if I'm honest. Aurier is a clown, in my opinion. But, yeah, Sissoko, they're all very tight to Sissoko, aren't they? He's sort of like the guy that settles the Frenchies in.
It definitely makes you wonder. Like, if Jose is this coach of teams, not players, that he often goes on about, then what do they do at training? Is that why they're basically playing basketball or cricket? They're just kind of like, it's team bonding rather than football training. It's worrying because, yeah, like Aurier may be the class clown, but he might actually be just a really funny guy, and who doesn't like to work with someone that makes them laugh? So yeah, I don't know, but like, to me, a manager doesn't allow this to happen, right? Like, you need to work with the people. Like, if the ones that have the most influence need to be on your side, and if you try to pick fights with those players, we've seen it before, you'll lose. And we talk about. I mean, I think we've discussed between us any compensation that might need to be paid to Jose if he is sacked. And that, yes, like in COVID times, it's a much bigger deal than it would have been when we sacked Pochettino 18 months ago. But sacking Pochettino probably cost us more money than what sacking Mourinho will do, just because the length of his contract was longer. So it's an interesting one. Like, if COVID disappears or the revenue stream comes back, or however you want to decide it, I feel that Levy, this Levy plus Dele versus Mourinho, can only end one way, because I suspect that Levy will say, well, look, Dele might not be playing well, but he's not playing. And Mourinho is getting to play every week and failing. So where do I go here?
Well, I think what we know is that Daniel Levy isn't afraid to pull the trigger most of the time, but I think this manager is probably his dream manager in many respects, and he's courted him for years, and I think it's going to take Jose a lot to get fired, is the truth, both in terms of the large compensation that he would have on his contract, 30 million or whatever, in this current economic climate, plus the fact that I think Jose respects him, and you saw it in the documentary, he's almost like a little fanboy. I'm pretty sure when Jose goes to take a piss in the urinals, Daniel follows him and asks if he can hold it and shake it.
But basically you're saying that, like, Daniel Levy is Alan Partridge and Jose is Dan. Is that what you're saying?
Basically. Dan! Who's Steve Hitchin in this relationship?
Probably Michael.
Yeah, who's the Geordie guy that works in the hotel?
Michael.
Exactly. Yeah, Michael, yeah.
Wait! I'm not going to do it in case there's any Geordie watchers and followers. I'll only insult you. Which kind of leads me to this. TM says, while I tend to agree that he's lost the dressing room, especially after Brighton, how do you fix that, given that sacking Jose is unrealistic for many reasons? Bren?
Yeah, agreed. Like, he's not going to get sacked anytime soon, for the reasons we've discussed. Can you hear me? Is everything okay?
Yeah, sorry. I just saw that Man United won 9-0.
Did they?
Jesus.
Didn't that happen to Southampton last season?
Yeah, they lost 9-0.
Well, Hudson might be on the market before long. You never know. A lot of people have been calling for that. So, yeah, go on, Bren.
So I don't think he'll be sacked unless there's a complete implosion, which I don't think. I think we've got good enough players, and he is not an idiot. He must have gone through rough patches before. I don't think he's quite had the experience that he's having now. But surely at Real, he's had the odd drop off. Even a draw at Real is a disaster there. So he needs to be given time to turn it around. The concern is, has he had enough experiences of needing to turn it around, or has it always just ended? Have we got to the point where it goes south before we got the trophies? Like, we knew it would go south. We were like, well, at least we'll get some trophies beforehand. He's been here for 14 months. It's normally 3 years that it happens. So that's the concern. Unless there's a complete implosion, I can't see him going. I was livid after Brighton, as you know from my WhatsApp message, but I'll give him a bit more time. But it was god awful on Sunday.
I think you were pissed up a bit Sunday, weren't you? Let's be honest.
Bit of both.
It's a weekend fun. Look, the thing with Jose is that when he was successful at Chelsea, he did create this siege mentality, and he was willing to basically do everything to keep the focus off of his players, right? And for whatever reason, that's changed. Now it's always the player's fault, and it's a massive issue. Like, it's not easy. I'm sure it's not easy for someone who's had the success he has had to turn around and think, maybe it is my fault, right? But that is kind of your job. Yeah. Your job is to make sure that your players play well. And if they're not, like, it does kind of fall on you. Like, if the players aren't motivated, well, that kind of falls on you. Like, no one can expect you to force the players to give 100% every game, right? Yeah. A player will decide that for himself. Everyone knows that. But the player will, of course, like everyone, I think, has more motivation if they think it's going to work. It really is that kind of simple. Like, you can't expect someone to, Like if I tell someone to run off a cliff because it will be good for them, I can't expect people to do that when they've seen other people run off a cliff and die, right? We've seen players' careers die because of standing up to Mourinho or even doing what he asked. No one really knows what Dele did wrong in those first 45 minutes against Everton, and yet he's barely played in the Premier League since. So it's a very, very weird situation. We can sit here and say, well, Aurier may have done this at half-time, or Danny Rose said what he said in an interview, and that makes sense. But what did Dele do? That's the thing. And so it doesn't make much sense for him to turn around and say, well, yeah, sorry, you're not going to be in the squad anymore. Or you've got some random injury that happens to happen in the transfer window. It's just crazy.
Okay. We are running out of time, but I'll just go through a few more quickly. If we can keep the answers really succinct here, that would be helpful. Can you guys explain why we keep playing Davis when he does run, overlaps his own team and won't play it to him, yet he keeps making the squad? I think basically, Daniel, you're saying that you don't rate Davis. Bren, do you rate Davis?
Yeah, no, he wasn't great against Brighton. The goal was probably on him and one of the centre-backs that should have helped him out as well. He kind of let the player run past him, then goes over to cover the ball in and doesn't do either. So, yeah, he's not good enough. He's young as well. He's 27. He seems like he's a lot older. He seems like he's been around for ages.
Give us your impression again.
But yeah, just don't... I won't. I won't. I don't know. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's nice. I think he's probably okay for a mid-table to lower position in the table team. But for where we want to be, I don't think he's quite good enough. He's okay cover, but we need an upgrade. He's not great going forward. He's suspect going back. I don't know. I'm not a fan, and he's been here so long as well. It's weird that we've held on to him for so long.
Here's a question for you. Is he any better or worse than Danny Rose, HG?
I think it depends what you want him to do. I mean, I've said this before, and I know I've had filters for it before, but if you want an attacking fullback, you don't play Ben Davies. If you want a safe, secure fullback who will most likely give you 6 or 7 out of 10 every game, you pick Ben Davies. If you want someone to bash forward, then it's going to be Reguilon. It should be Danny Rose ahead of Davies if you want that to be part of the game. But if you don't, and in this case, like Rose is completely out of favour, but Ben Davies is playing every game because he's the only left back we have that's fit. That's it. He wouldn't be playing every game if others were fit. But it's like Rose against Davies. It's a question that we've had for ever since Davies joined, which is 2014. Yeah. It's a long time ago now. So like you pick Rose if you want to play a certain way, and you pick Davies if you want to play a certain way. If we're going to play 6 at the back against Chelsea, then I'd rather Davies was there. If you want someone to bomb forward and kind of give you an option from fullback, then you pick Rose. But I don't think Rose is even going to be in the 25-man squad, even though there is almost certainly space for him. That'll be an interesting thing. Whenever it gets announced what the final 25-man squad is, there are players like Tanganga that don't have to be named. It's not an issue. But if you think that Rose might get a chance, he has to be named. And if he isn't, then he really can go on holiday for 6 months.
On that note, does Tanganga get a chance to play, Bren? Where's he gone?
I think he stayed. There was rumours that he was going on loan to... it was Stoke. Hang on. What was the team he
going loan to? He stayed anyway. Are we going to play him?
He stayed anyway. You'd hope so. He looks. He hasn't done much wrong. He's had injury issues. I think there was an issue with his lower back. Was the problem that I saw recently? But I mean, our defence isn't pulling up trees, so why not? Like he should be given more chances. If it is an injury problem, fair enough. But he's shown when he's come on that he's strong, he's intelligent. Will he make a mistake? Who doesn't make mistakes? But I think that he should be given more game time because our defence isn't really doing much as it is.
Well, absolutely. I agree with that. Let's see if there's anything else we want to cover. I like this one. Pavi D. Would you boys rather a new manager or 70 million in the kitty to get Mourinho's style of players in? Bren?
Who's available manager-wise? Like, who would you get in instead of him? Like, so Benitez is available.
Not the question.
What, a new manager or 70 million?
Yeah.
70 million. Go on him. I'll stick with him.
HG?
I would probably pick a new manager, if I'm honest. I still think there's a decent team in our squad. I still think there are decent tactics available to us. I understand that we have weaknesses in various areas of the squad, but I just think we can be doing better than what we are. So, I understand 70 million would be nice to spend on players, but I mean, who is he going to bring in? Diego Costa? Where's he going to spend the 70 million? That would be a worry to me. So I'd probably go for a new manager. Sorry?
Alonso from Chelsea and Diego Costa, yeah.
Yeah, or Matic. Do you know what I mean? I understand that Jose might want to spend money and probably needs to spend money, but if it's going to be this style of football, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think he's bought quite wisely, if I'm honest, since he joined. I really do. I think Bergwijn is a player. I think that Rodon could become something, but if you rate Tanganga, you don't sign Joe Rodon. So there's an issue there.
Yeah.
But Reguilon is obviously a good player. Højbjerg has proved his worth already. But if you're buying players for a system that doesn't work and you need more players, it becomes very old very quickly. And you end up saying, what is the problem? Is it the manager who can't get a tune out of players that Pochettino did? Or is it actually the manager? I don't know. But given the way we're playing and the way that Mourinho is blaming the players, if he wasn't blaming the players, I'd probably be all in on Mourinho. But because he is, give me someone else, please.
Anyone else?
But just a quick to counter on that. Are we playing that way because Mourinho is trying to counter for the fact that our players are limited? So if we had better players, surely Mourinho would play a better style of play because it means that he has more confidence in the players that are on the pitch. If he doesn't think that the players on the pitch can deliver what he wants, then obviously he's going to try and play more defensively.
I hear all of that, but here's the thing. Kane, world class. Son, world class. Ndombele, probably world class. Yeah. Højbjerg, name me a better defensive midfielder in the Premier League. Our issues are Reguilon is a very good player, isn't he? You'd have him in most teams. Lloris, excellent. I think the only issues we've really got are at centre back, right back, and some more creative, a different type of creative midfielder. Because although we've got Lo Celso and Ndombele, really you need a passer in that, and Eriksen if you like.
And the thing is, Caller, we signed a centre-back in the summer and we signed a right-back in the summer.
Well, in fairness, I think we signed the centre-back for the future and we were looking for a more established centre-back. So I think actually that would still be on the shopping list in the summer, 100%.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. But if you're buying a fourth-choice centre-back or whatever he would have been, he probably was at the beginning, Joe Rodon. And you've already got Tanganga, who apparently now is a fullback, despite the fact he spent most of his career playing centre-back throughout the age group. It's a strange one. It really is. If we all thought when we bought Doherty, he's going to stick with this kind of lopsided, one fullback will bomb forward. Davies is perfect to be that left-sided centre-back if we want to try it. And then we signed Reguilon, and it was like, actually, no, we want to use him. Now, I get the logic, because I think Reguilon is a better player, but then you've signed Doherty for basically nothing because it was only a few weeks later that we went and signed Reguilon. Yeah. It seems a bit haphazard. As I said, I think we've signed good players, right? Whether it's for the future or for now, I think we're pretty well set for what could come in the next couple of years. The issue is, how are we going to play that team? Pochettino had a set style of that high press. We spent a year trying it with Bentaleb and Mason in midfield, and it didn't work. And then suddenly we buy Wanyama, then Bale gets fit, and we've hit this perfect midfield, the best midfield that we will probably see for a very long time. And there was a system, there was an idea that everyone knew this is what we were going to do. It's the same with Man City, it's the same with Liverpool. And with Mourinho, if he was going to stick to one style of play and just ride it out, we'd be like, okay, he's working on something. but he's just trying to fight various fires and probably getting worse.
I suppose my point was, in terms of what I'm coming back on to Brendan's point, I don't think it's all about compensating for players, because we have got some bloody good players. I think you're right. I think that he's got to pick a style and stick to it to get the best out of the team. In my opinion, I agree with you. Kante is better than DM than PH. Caller, yeah, probably true. Probably true. I'll leave you with two thoughts. So, firstly, did Deli change his question from "What's your favourite chocolate bar" to "What manager would you prefer other than Jose"? I like that. It's put a smile on my face, and that's what the cheese room's all about. And finally, Zevo Genius. It brings me to my question. What's your prediction? Brendan, I'm going to come to you first. Scoreline, please.
Ooh, I hate predicting a loss, but I can't see anything other than a loss. Oh, it's horrible. A spirited 2-1 defeat.
Spirited would be an improvement on Brighton.
Yeah, I think that we're going to turn up. I think we're going to put in a shift, but I just don't think there's enough there. Chelsea are going to pack midfield. They've got a better squad. Let's be honest. They've invested 200 million over the summer. I'd be very surprised if we got away with even a draw. So I hate to predict against us. I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, 2-1 Chelsea.
HG, top that optimism.
Well, optimism-wise, I can't top it. 2-0 Chelsea. I don't see us scoring, frankly. Like, I sat here thinking, should I say 3-0? But I actually think, no, like, Chelsea will be happy with 2 and they'll stick with that. But it's like, I think Tuchel has a better idea of what he wants from his players, and I think he'll get a better idea from them. Mourinho, I don't really know what he wants. I don't think the players know what he wants, and it's an issue. So, yeah, 2-0 Chelsea.
Can I just say that all the time on the pod, we predict wins and we lose a lot. So hopefully this is like a reverse of that, where we're all predicting defeats and we'll get a win.
You come in next, don't you?
Go on, tell us how many we'll win by, caller.
The problem is I'm sat here wanting to be really passionately optimistic, as is my mantra. But I think I'll just look an even bigger fool than normal. Is the truth. We're going to draw. That's as optimistic as I can be. We're going to draw. It's going to be 1-1, grind it out. And, yeah, that's all I can say about that. I think Werner will score his goal. I'll win 50 quid on a bet. and a odd-one, blow won't be the end of the world. But I think there'll be some fireworks after the game, because the reality is if Mourinho loses this game, 3 on the bounce, he's in trouble. He's in big trouble, cup final or not. So let's hope we're all wrong, and let's hope we're celebrating 3 points Friday morning. And come on, you Spurs. Any last words, guys, before we go?
Thank you, Wolverhampton Wanderers, for your lovely victory this evening. I still haven't seen the sending off of Bernd Leno, but I am told it is an absolute classic, so I look forward to that. Yeah, that's about it. It's sad that we're now relying on Arsenal losing the odd game to make us happy, but I'm very happy that Wolves won. And come on, you Spurs.
Bren?
I'm good. Apologies for my poor third world internet. And yeah, come on, you Spurs. Fingers crossed we're all wrong. And we do the Blues on Thursday. Come on. Believe.
I apologise for my hair. Lockdown's taking its toll. Just time to mention one last thing. Football prizes. Please get over there and have a look. There is a Kane and Son dual-mounted shirt. I bought 10 tickets already because I think this will look fantastic in my man cave. Tickets are $9.95. There's 125 of them, and it finishes on Monday. And you can save 10% using the code 10cheese as ever due to our partnership with Football Prizes. That's all. Thanks for joining us this evening. This will be on YouTube later, so you can watch the full extent of Brendan's technical issues in all their glory. And in the meantime, come on, you Spurs. Let's hope we're all wrong. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.